Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 12 of our 12 days of Copilot. It has been an absolute journey, right? So today, day 12, Bright Futures with AI, we're going to wrap up today really how AI is making it real for many businesses out there. With that, let's go ahead and get our other esteemed speakers on here as well, as I want to make sure we get some good introductions here as we go through this process because you've seen a couple of us already. But today, obviously, we're going to be doing a little bit of a deeper dive session on obviously why you should be looking at AI moving forward as well. Now, one of the things I just wanted to highlight here really is that your participation did make a difference. Thank you so much for attending. Over these past 3 weeks, we've raised over $5,000 for these different organizations. So every participant that participated, obviously, and joined, or attendee, excuse me, we donated $5 then for each of those attendees to these organizations. And with that, though, I know Mr. Eric Newell, one of these is kind of near and dear to you, and I know you wanted to kind of explain a little bit more maybe about the Moorhead legacy.
Yeah, thanks, Scott, and thanks again for everybody attending. It's been great to see how much excitement there's been for this series, and love to close it out on a high note today. But yeah, so for those of you who maybe have followed us on LinkedIn, our president, Mike Gast, passed away earlier this year after a battle with brain cancer. And so one of the things that we wanted to do is create a scholarship in his name. And so we started that. And anyone who attends this week is allowing us to put some more money into creating that scholarship in his name for the school where his kids go to in Moorhead, Minnesota. So thanks again. It means a lot to us to be able to contribute to that.
I appreciate you saying that. Mike was an amazing man, right? So it's great to see his legacy live on as well. So that's awesome. So I guess one thing really quickly here, I know we've got a lot to cover. I think that the key thing here, right, is that I know I've done some emceeing and Tracy has done some emceeing as we've gone through this week, and we've gone through really 12 days of all these different topics. I guess I just wanted to kind of say, and I'm curious, Tracy, where you think as well, more specifically, like the multi-agents for me was really fun, as well as obviously using some of those fine-tuning capabilities that we talked through with agents on how to make them more performant. Those are some really good topics that we got a lot of interaction with. Tracy, what were kind of your favorite topics that you had for this 12 days of Copilot series?
Yeah. Hey, Scott and Eric, and we're going to introduce ourselves in a minute, but I agree. Like, we've had so many great topics. Notebooks, since Eric's on, but also because he continuously inspires me to want to use notebooks more. So in my last flight school, I've actually told the group, I'm like, I will be using notebooks in a big way in 2026. So that one for sure. And probably Copilot for sales is another big one for me because there's so much integration that's happening with Copilot and our CRM system. And it's just really fun to be able to highlight those things and just see how fast it's changing.
Yeah, and I'm seeing some chat in here. Justin's getting all excited for the Business Central Copilot capabilities. So, Justin, you nailed it. Like, it's getting there every single time. And these tidbits here, obviously, they just help you understand how you can use Copilot in your environment. So let's kind of get to more of the content today. I know we kind of jumped in without introducing ourselves. Eric, do you want to just do a quick introduction for the audience, and we'll move on to me and then Tracy?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. For those of you who haven't seen me before, I'm Eric Newell. I'm the CEO and founder of Stone Ridge Software, and also helped start our ISV business in the agriculture space called Leverage, and spent 13 years at Microsoft before starting Stone Ridge back in 2012. I'm also the author of the book on how to do implementations for Microsoft Dynamics 365 called Mastering Microsoft Dynamics 365 Implementations. And as Tracy said, I'm an avid Copilot notebook fan. So any questions about that, I'm here for you.
That's awesome, Eric. I will tell you, if you've not read the book, get the book. It absolutely helps you really get that foundational learning in terms of how you should implement a business system, because if you implement the business system right, AI becomes a lot easier, right, Eric? So it's good to have that book out there. I'll just do a quick introduction of myself. So Scott Frappier, Chief AI Architect, 20 years, obviously, a little bit more than 20 years. It feels like 25 now, focused in Dynamics inside of the Microsoft stack. The cool thing about being focused around AI is because I focused on all the different aspects of the Microsoft stack, AI touches everything. So it's a lot of fun to then use those capabilities to really address the business needs in many of our organizations. And then I love being public. I love talking through Confab and the Flight Lab. It's been a lot of fun just to go ahead and educate the community on really the learnings I've amassed over 25 years. So really looking forward here to show some of the other technology too that's pretty cool. And Miss Tracy, would you love to do an introduction?
Yeah, I'd be honored to. So I am now the lead consultant of Copilot M365 at Stoneridge. I've been around, Copilot for ever since it kind of rolled out with Bing Chat in 2023, and I've been with five years with Stoneridge, and I am like a huge champion of everything that Eric and the team has built here at Stoneridge. So love being part of this family. I've been in multiple industries my whole career, from retail to staffing to nonprofit, food and beverage, service. So it's been really fun to work with the clients, whether I'm consulting in Business Central or now with Copilot or just in client success, just to be able to bring it all together and help clients win with their technology. So with that, let's go ahead and move on and unwrap today's Copilot tip. I think we're going to start out with Eric. He's going to talk more about charting our course with AI.
Yeah, so what I thought would be helpful today is just to try to reframe all the things that we shared over the past 11 days. And really, as you think about AI, you think about AI as it's another tool in the automation toolbox. So we've been doing automation for years, right? And we've had a great set of tools, Power Automate, Power Apps, those things have added some more tools over the past few years. And now we've got maybe one of the most powerful tools we've ever had to add to that toolbox with generative AI or large language models. So when you think about AI, and if for those of you who are at the Leadership Summit, we talked about, are you an AI company or an AI powered company? And think about AI as a way to help power your company to do more. So when you think about it, think about automation first, and then think about how you plug AI in to help you solve your solution, solve those particular business problems. I've heard a lot of people talk about, AI is going to do this, and AI isn't an easy button that you just press and everything just works. So think about what your automation priorities are, and then think about the different tools that you're going to use. And as Scott and Tracy have learned over a year of experimenting with all these things, like there are some things it does well and some things it doesn't do as well. So making sure you understand and take that automation approach is going to really help you. And as you do that, think about the business processes that have the most friction today. So what are the things that are taking the longest that your team is struggling through? What are the things that your team doesn't like doing? Like one of the huge opportunities I see with AI is like in the field service for doing work orders. So you got people going out and doing a job at a particular site, and then they've got to write up a work order over it. Well, do they really want to drive home at the end of the day and write a bunch of work orders, or would they love to just get on the phone as they drive to their next job and read off to their assistant what they did? And so using Copilot as an assistant to actually save time could actually be a huge time saver, improve the accuracy that you have in the work orders that you do, and make the job more enjoyable for team members who now don't have to go back home at the end of the day and log into a computer. So think about those types of solutions or those types of business problems and how AI can play a big role in that. And then we wanted to frame today up in like giving you advice based on where you are in your AI journey. So I've talked to many of them. I actually got to host a roundtable at Convergence last week, Microsoft's new or reimagined client conference about ERP down in Miami. And it's just interesting. Everybody's kind of at a different place in their AI journey. So there are some of you who haven't communicated an AI strategy yet. People are using it in the organization, but there's no really overarching strategy of what you want to do. So Tracy will share some tips, like if you're at that stage, what to do next. There are others who have communicated a strategy. People are starting to use Copilot chat. They're starting to use a little bit of the Office features in there. So she'll talk a little bit more about what to do next if you're in that phase. And then Scott's going to talk about if you're at that point where you've got people using it and they're getting a lot of value out of it. Now you're starting to build some agents, which is really about where we are in Stone Ridge internally as well. Is we have everybody in the organization using it and getting a lot of value, which is super fun to see. And we've got agents popping up here and there now too, which is kind of fun as well. But if you're working on your first agents, what are some things to keep in mind? What are some good ways to get some quick wins with some of the agents you have? And then all the way to the people who, I don't know if they exist yet, but they sometimes talk about that they've like automated everything in their business with several workloads. If you happen to be one of those people, we'll talk a little bit about like where do you go next and some things to keep in mind as you kind of refine the agents that you build. Because certainly, as I've experienced as well too, building an agent is a great way to kind of understand it. It's pretty easy to build an agent. It's really hard to build a really great agent. So if you're that stage where you've built some, Scott will have some tips to refine, like how do you make that even more effective.
Yeah.
So with that, Tracy, you want to jump in and share how to move forward?
I do, and this is great. So a lot of people are, we like to think that everybody's at this stage where they're just, building all these automated agents and everything's working perfectly. But I'm assuming that I'm talking to the majority here when I say if you haven't formulated your plan yet, or if you haven't really dug in and got started, here's where you can start. So asking your team where they're at today and how they're using it, because I guarantee you, and I'm still getting clients that are so surprised that their people in their company, the majority of them are saying, yep, I use AI and and then fill in the blank as to what service they use, what large language platform or what user interface they're using. So ask your team what they're using and what they're getting out of it when they do, because there's huge value to people practicing and starting that. There's better ways to do it, but there's huge value in just getting started. Make sure that your executive team, your leadership from the top down has a briefing on what AI is, what some of the terminology means, and like making sure that everyone's aligned. So it's important to have not just, a few people or a pod of people or the IT team for certain, just leading the effort of AI, but just having that executive understanding of what AI can do for your company, I think is really important. Meet as a leadership team, start to figure out your strategy like Eric was talking about. And then understanding what your training options are and finding those right ones for your team. I think that's really important. We'll talk about a few options that we have here. There's lots of things out there. And then, like Eric also mentioned, communicating your plan is really important. So saying nothing about AI is not really an option going forward. You really want to be a company where your leaders from the top down and all the levels in between are talking about AI and what it can do and what you want it to do for your company. On the next slide, some great first steps. So I'm going to do a little demo here momentarily, but I just want to highlight what I'm going to talk about. Using AI for search and for Office, just basic things are so important. And there's free non-licensed Copilot availability where you still have enterprise grade security. And we've talked about this. And so you can still just have that access. So I think just getting started with it is great. And continue to advocate for people practicing with AI, hopefully with Copilot, because again, it's secure, and then working on their prompting, because if it doesn't work one way, you just have to keep asking your Copilot, your digital assistant, another way. And introducing just the basic agents that Microsoft has given us, which are not basic at all. They're very complex and amazing tools: researcher, analyst, and facilitator. I'm going to show you those momentarily. doing a security review, making sure that your security, your governance, those things are in line and protected. Your systems are protected. And then we'll talk about what this Copilot flight plan is in a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. And once we get that up, and there we go. So I am in the Copilot chat application. Like I think it's called Biz Chat. It's probably going to have a lot of names. But one thing I mentioned is, so there was a large shoe company that used to say, just do it. And I'm going to kind of rename that and say, just use it. Okay. So if you're not sure where to get started, just use Copilot. Again, you have unlicensed users being able to use this tool. The search feature in your Copilot chat app is phenomenal. If you want to go back a few days in the Copilot, 12 days of Copilot, I've demoed this, but try the search function in your Copilot chat app. Also, just within chat, like just start using it. And now that there's these tools integrated with it, the researcher and the analyst, you don't have to, you can, and you can use the agents, researcher, and analyst within the agent list, but you can also use them right here, and the designer as well. And they provide much more robust answers to your questions. So using it within the chat is, just a really great and basic thing to do. And then just continuing to work on your prompting is a great thing. Also, if you go over to Outlook, oh, I got reminders there. You've got this Copilot drop down here. Again, licensed and non-licensed users should have that. Just try this. So draft an email using Copilot. It's going to bring up this list of things that you can do. Write a short and friendly message to Eric about, I don't know, Eric, what should I write you a message about? How great notebooks are.
I was
Okay.
going to say notebooks.
Yeah.
Definitely read it.
Yeah, perfect. Or go to the chat here and you have context awareness of things that you're doing. So what matters most in my inbox? Like who couldn't get enough of that? Like this is just practical, great things that you should try. So just really trying to elevate your productivity.
Just one thing while you're in there, like for
Yeah.
those of you who've searched for stuff in your email and you use the box on the top and you've been frustrated that you can't find the stuff, use Copilot to search your email. It's so much better.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah, for sure. If you're using this, he's saying use this or even within the chat app, right?
Yep.
right. It's so much better.
Mhm.
And it
So
will
much
pull
better.
up the emails so you could just click on them and see them right there. So definitely.
Yeah, that's a great tip, Eric. 100%. Okay. Let's see, what else was I going to show you? Oh, in Teams here, let me just keep going and find my Teams. That's not how I was going to transition. I had this beautiful transition plan for y'all, and now I don't have it up. In Teams, I'm just going to say it, invite the facilitator. So I think you might be able to do that in here. I don't know
Yeah,
if you can. You have to do
we
it
do.
through Teams,
Oh,
right?
yeah, I was just gonna say one of the meetings we have every Friday is a meeting about Copilot and cloud opportunities, and I don't attend that meeting, but Tracy turns on facilitator, so I get to hear I get to see everything that went on, all the relevant stuff in that meeting, even though I'm not there, and so I can follow it and read up on it very quickly. So love to be
Absolutely.
able to do that.
So if I'm scheduling a meeting now with Eric and Scott, let's say, as soon as you put in a name of people and you're in Teams, you have to do this through Teams. You can say facilitator is off for this meeting and you click to turn it on. And now you don't even have to remember to turn it on during the meeting. You can, but you don't have, you can wait and do it during the meeting. But this is a great practice to get into when you're scheduling meetings. Turn on facilitator because the recaps that you're going to get at the end, not to mention the interaction that you have with Copilot during the meeting, is going to be second to none. You're going to love that. So I think those are the tools that I just wanted to share with you. And let's see. I'm going to go back to the slide deck now and just talk a little bit more about how we can get started. So Stone Ridge Stoneridge has we've put a lot of thought into how we think you and clients and our partners should get involved and get started with Copilot. One of the things that Eric has actually agreed to doing, and I think it's fabulous, and I've seen him in action, is this executive briefing. So I highly recommend this as an option if you have an executive team that just really wants a thorough analysis of what AI is going to be doing, kind of an executive level primer on AI and Copilot, where Copilot is going to start showing up in your business, that security conversation, just really understanding how to trust AI within your, valuable tools within your data, and then rolling out and understanding a concrete adoption plan. Eric really highlights these well, and he will do this personally for your company. So highly recommend. It's a free engagement with Eric that we, definitely consider that.
Hey, and Tracy, Rob's like, did you say free? So be careful, Eric.
Right?
Hey,
Rob,
for
we'll do
me.
that with
I learn a lot from doing it. I mostly just give an overview of where AI is going and ask a lot of questions and then answer a lot of questions. So a lot of executives don't have an idea of like where to go, or they have some misperceptions about it. And that's really what I'm trying to do, is just really make sure they understand what it is and how it can help them. And then you can chart a path forward from there.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. We're really lining you up too, so you better be careful what you're offering out there. I've
I enjoy
got
it.
you busy next month. Yep. Okay, then we have this flight plan that we've built. So this is actually more than just like a training video. So it's a 10-week engagement. I actually get to meet with your team, with the leadership, and have a business value workshop where we dig into what it is that you want to see AI do at your company. So we have a business value workshop within the flight plan. We've got Copilot security baseline. So what does Microsoft say are those things that you really need to make sure you have in place as you're kicking off Copilot and AI in your company? Some more security and governance consulting work built right into this. And then the Flight School, which is our 7-week course that has live cohort sessions, and it's got pre-recorded training. We do leadership coaching within it. It's a really valuable tool as people get started with Copilot. So it's just a way to not just hand a person a license and say, hey, figure out this new thing and this new way of working. It's like really looking from every angle of your company and figuring out how we're going to get started with AI. So Flight Plan is a great way to get started. The other thing that we're kicking off in the new year, and I'm so excited about this is becoming a really robust tool. It's another free option, Rob, free readiness assessment. So myself and then our cloud services team, Tyler Allard and some others, are going to be getting involved with this. It's a comprehensive look at your environment and what your team is saying about AI readiness. And then based on what is discovered in that work, we look at the structured gates for AI adoption. So like, where are you at in your AI adoption? We'll tell you. And we have these core pillars that we've laid out, which is technical, cultural, operational, and organizational. So we want to make sure that people feel balanced and ready for AI within those gates. And we give you actionable recommendations and next steps. So I also highly recommend that you get started with that free readiness assessment if you're just not sure where to get started, where to go next.
Yeah,
Scott,
like
you
you
want to
said,
talk a little bit about agents? Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say, like you said, we've got a lot of scale here, right? Because there's a lot of different people at different stages of their journey. And so typically when I'm going to get engaged with someone, we're really looking more towards the advanced agent capabilities, right? So an example of that would be using some of the agents inside of Dynamics 365. A lot of our pre-sales team, like Joe, Marcus, Jesse, Bill, they typically tackle, for example, showing you those capabilities But really, what happens is when you start getting deeper, you find out that you want to have more, or you want to learn more of how to trigger these agents because maybe you've got a process that you want to design around these agents to make them autonomous, for example, and to really build that value as well. Because what we're starting to see more and more is that these agents are able to do things that we typically do just on our mouse and keyboard. And that's a pretty profound thing when you connect a large language model to doing actions inside of a business system. And that's kind of the direction that we're going inside of 2026 here. So it's a pretty exciting concept. Now, some of the things just to note here is that when we look at automation inside of your environment, there's a huge benefit for you jumping in now and not waiting till later either, because this technology, quite candidly, the leadership perspective of it is identifying how you use it, but then the practical aspect of it is, well, how do I create it in the organization? What do I do with deterministic versus probabilistic outcomes? Meaning, why does the agent, when I ask it a question, answer it weird one way and then right the other way? Well, there's reasons for that, and that comes with learning and education. And quite candidly, that learning and education will apply then towards any type of AI solution that you want to build. You got to understand where models are, because right now we're getting a plethora of models from Gemini, from Anthropic, from Microsoft, from OpenAI. And in the future, quite candidly, why wouldn't models be industry specific? And then also, how do you refine these agents? How do you make them consistently create value for you? And really, what I want to quickly show you here is just the reason why I'm saying this, because if we think about the new technology that's coming out there, well, one of those technologies is called MCP. And we're not going to get into a lot of detail of what MCP does, but here is an agent where MCP is being used to do something inside of a business system. So we've talked about at some level where at some point in the future, we're going to have it where AI can log into a business system and click on all the different forms and go to the different navigation to be able to get those answers, or to create records, for example. And MCP is what we use to do that. So this is an example of one that connects into Dynamics 365. And what it does as it goes through its processing is that it actually tells you here what's going on. It's saying, hey, I need to log into Dynamics and I need to find the menu item to basically that's on the menu to go to the released products. Okay, great. I found that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the on-hand menu that's inside of here. So this agent, if you think about it as an automated agent, it's saying, good, I found several menu items. I'm finding the one now to drill into the on-hand inventory. This is really the future. So every application inside of the Microsoft stack will have the ability basically for you to ask a question and then for an agent to basically act like it has a user interface to then interact with that product inventory and to get to that solution or that answer. And here's the really profound thing about it. We don't have time today to go to it in detail, but it also allows you to do things like create a customer, create records, update records, modify records, delete records. And you can see here that I created a customer. And if I go then into finance and operations as an example, what we're going to see is that Z Copilot customer that was created here, which is Z Copilot 01, is actually a customer that exists inside of here as well, inside of this demo environment. So this is the example then where we're starting to see more and more of AI being able to drive a lot of those different transactions and needs inside of your environment. I guess with that, Eric, I think we want to talk about taking off together here, right?
Yeah, that was a very quick summary, Scott. That was
It
impressive.
was.
So I have been working all morning on this graphic. Got my Photoshop out, and no, as Tracy was showing earlier in the designer, you can use that to create images however you want. So I asked it to create an image to kind of cap off our 12 days of Copilot, and here's what it came up with. But one of the things that I find really exciting about AI is the return on investment potential is really there with AI. So I know at times people look at, well, I have to move from like GP to BC, and I'm just spending a lot of money to get to the same kind of platform. But when you get onto Business Central or you get onto some of these cloud platforms, that's when you can really start to get a bit better return of investment by using those AI tools. So like yesterday, Marcus was showing off like the payables agent and the sales order agent. I mean, those come with the product. Those are things you can use and put into place, and you can start saving money by putting those in place or serving more clients because you can handle a lot more emails than you could have in the past. So start to think about where you can use automation to create return on investment for your business. And that just opens up a lot more opportunities. And I'm just really excited to see what clients are going to be doing with this and where they're going to take it. So with that, yeah, keep up the momentum. As Tracy mentioned, the free AI readiness assessment is something that we'll do for you to kind of see where you are. Again, if you want me to come and talk to your leadership team, that executive briefing is another free offering that we put out there if you want to take advantage of it. Our Copilot flight plan is a very easy way to get going and get started. I was reading Tracy's summary of one of the ones we did this morning as well too, and they're really excited starting to get into agents and those types of things. And then our liftoff lab is a way to start using agents, kind of build your use case for agents, get started with your first agent, and then see where you go from there. So these are great ways to get started, and it's not a big investment to get started with some of this Copilot stuff, but the return on investment is really there. So with that, Scott, should we wrap up the series?
Yeah, well, let's get to the end here, right? So one thing we wanted to make mention, if you have questions regarding like more in depth, for example, with the content that you saw for the 12 days, remember the Flight Lab is also where we've been covering a lot of this detail as well. So feel free to basically join us for that. I guess the key thing here, remember for resources and replays for everyone, if this is your first session, remember days 1 through 11 are available for replay now. Today's will absolutely be added shortly here. I know Bree will be on that. Remember, Microsoft has a lot of great documentation and certification programs, which we call our frontier documentation. And if you have more questions, contact really your client partner or even reach out to solutions@stoneridgesoftware.com if you're not a current customer. We'd love to have a conversation with you. Eric can talk to you. I can talk to you. Tracy can talk to you. We've got all these different levels that we can align, obviously, towards your needs.